Hello and welcome to Radical Catholic. I'm your host, Jules Joe, and today we are talking about kids and Lent.
40 days of sacrifice, being super extra nice.
It's very important that we give our children a strong sense of each different season within the liturgical year. Our children should know what season it is, why we practice it, and what it means. And right now that means Lent. Now Lent's kind of a tricky one. It's a lot easier with Advent because you have the Advent wreath, you're building up to Christmas, and every kid knows what Christmas is. But Lent and Easter can both be a bit harder for kids to pin down. Lent's just kind of this time for fish on Fridays, which builds towards the bunny who hides eggs. In order to appreciate Lent, our kids need to understand what Easter is and what the resurrection of Christ really means for us. They need to know that the birth of Christ on Christmas happened so that Jesus could die and rise for our sins. Well, that's all well and good, but how do you instill appreciation for a time like Lent in a kid? Well, I scoured the internet trying to find cool things to do as like traditions and different things you can do with your family and your kids during Lent. And you know what I found? Nothing. Okay, well maybe not nothing, but just a bunch of crafts. That's all I could find. Craft, craft, craft. I hate crafts. If you ask me, which you have by clicking on this video, I have never found that doing a craft with a child has helped to bring them closer to an understanding or a relationship with God. Rather, I found it requires busy work to set up and a mess to clean up afterward. So here in the Christian household, we came up with our own Lenten practices. Step 1. Buy a menorah. What? Aren't menorahs Jewish? Well, yes, they're Jewish, but so are we, kind of. I mean, if you think about it, Catholicism is the fulfillment of the Jewish faith. But what do menorahs have to do with Lent? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, I was thinking about how awesome it is that Advent has the Advent wreath. It's such a good visual thing to do with the kids. Like as you're preparing, they know, okay, now we're lighting one candle, two candle, pink candle, whoa! But why don't we have something like that for Lent? I mean, Lent is also a time for preparation and waiting. So first I thought, oh, we'll just use our Advent wreath. That'll work, right? Wrong. There's actually 6 weeks of Lent, not 4. Hello! Now you might be thinking that menorahs have like 8 or 9 candles, so that won't match up either, and you are partially right. You see, it turns out that there's 2 different kinds of menorahs. There's Hanukkah menorahs, which is the one that I was most familiar with, and that's the one that they use to celebrate the 8 days of Hanukkah, and that has like 8 or 9 candles. But there's also the temple menorah. And this menorah has 7 candle holders, so 1 for each week in Lent, and then 1 in the middle for Easter Sunday. Yes! So by using the temple menorah, you can give your kids the same sense of approach and waiting. They know how far along they are in Lent and how close they are to Easter. And of course, you don't actually have to go out and buy a temple menorah. Any old candle holders will do. Now when you're getting your candles for Lent, you should also be including a pink one. Everyone knows that the 3rd week in Advent has a pink candle instead of a purple one, but most people don't realize that pink is also the color 2 weeks before Easter. Technically, switching from purple to pink is optional both during Lent and during Advent. But for some reason, it always happens during Advent and never during Lent. My guess would be it has something to do with the Advent wreath and da-da-da-da. But make sure you got a pink candle in there for Lent too. So now that you've got your candles set up, the next thing you should do is wrap presents for Jesus. We went out and bought some purple wrapping paper, and then we had our kids pick out what they were going to give up for Lent, and then we wrapped them as gifts for Jesus. This can work even if your kid's giving up some kind of food or something like that. You just take that item and wrap it up. Now we have them sitting out with our Lent candles on the mantle so that the kids can see the gifts just sitting there all of Lent. So it's like they're giving the gift to Jesus so that he can have it as they go without. Then on Easter Sunday, they unwrap it and Jesus gives the gift back to them. This is a really awesome and tangible way that kids can learn about giving to Christ and how he always gives back. Now I think it's very important that we let our kids pick for themselves what it is that they're going to give up for Lent. We may give some suggestions or ideas, but ultimately it should be up to them. It should be their own free will offering. Because the sacrifice is useless if it's not freely given. It's also very important that the parents do this too. Don't just leave it up to kids. The kids need to see that you are doing the same thing and that we're all in this together. So here's my wrapped gift to Jesus. During Lent, I don't listen to music while I'm in the car, so this is my little CD case thing, and I got it all wrapped up. It's purple, obviously, for the color of Easter, and it's not anything fancy because Lent is all about simplicity. So those are the 2 main things we do with our kids to help them practice Lent. We have the Lenten candles, and we do the gifts for Jesus. But what about you? Let us know in the comments below what you do with your kids during this Lenten season or what you might be thinking about doing. One thing I'm thinking that we should really be doing is maybe doing some kind of special Lenten prayer every night. I don't know. Let me know if you know of any. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, if you're not praying, you're straying.
It's Lent, time to repent because it's Lent, I will make it Lent. What we've done and failed to do, but ask for mercy. give to you.
Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. No. What you thinking about my start? What you thinking about my style on? No, I want to see it. And of course, whoa. So that won't work easy.